What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. We are here talking about NFL Week 5 lines, setting the edge. We did our show last night, made our 5 picks. I'm going to go through the slate of games and look at the line movement, talk about different options that you may want to bet. You can use the code 5 on Prize Picks. Get yourself $50 when you place a $5 lineup using that code 5. Looking through the market, obviously Thursday Night Football, we will have a Prop 5 show coming up, I believe, at 7:15, right around 7 o'clock, with myself, Eric, and Ross, I believe, on the show tonight, talking about different options on Prize Picks. So I will hold off on that until later. I do have a couple picks already, player props in for Bucks and Falcons that kicks off at 8:15 tonight. But looking at the sides and totals for that one, it opened at 3. Falcons are favored by 3, 44.5. Right now, 2.5, still favoring the Falcons. And then over under, depending where you look, 43.5 is kind of the consistent number. Obviously, popular play tonight is the under. Thursday Night Football, the unders are just, basically constant, especially when it's a division game. The data behind that is pretty overwhelming. I bet it earlier at under 44, so I did get a little bit of a better number. You can still get that 44, it looks like, at MGM. But I would lean under in this one. There are injuries on both sides of the field, especially for the Bucks, so you might have to look at that. But I just don't think it's going to be a very high-scoring game, especially on the short week for both teams. In terms of the side, I really lean more towards the Bucks. It was a game that we talked about last night, especially if you tease it. I think the Bucks are my favorite side. You can tease it up to 8.5. You go through the 3 and the 7. You're getting value there in that Stanford long teaser. So that's Thursday Night Football. There is also an early game this week, looking at the Jets and the Vikings. That's a London game. It opened up at 4. Obviously, this has flipped. It's talking opening line, like way back, look ahead line. The Vikings obviously were not supposed to be where they're at as an undefeated team, but now the Vikings are favored by 2.5, and the over-under is at 40.5. There is some weather concerns with that, so keep an eye on that. They talk about the surface, and that's, I think it's the Tottenham Stadium, being sort of like cement, so that's something to keep an eye on because the weather and the surface is definitely not something that, walking away last year, a lot of teams and players, I guess you should say, complained about that. And there's supposed to be some wind in terms of that. It is a dome, but there is like an open, kind of like the Dolphin Stadium, an open area in the middle that the wind does whip around a little bit in there. So just keep an eye on the weather report for that. It's a Sunday morning game. But that 2.5, again, if I was leaning to this side, this is a heavy, heavy, heavy public play. Let me open that up. I was showing this last night. 81% of the bets are on the Vikings. And, if you think about the key number of 3, why isn't that moving? Is there sharp money balancing it out on the other side? It's interesting to see why is that 2.5 holding strong despite all that money. Again, if I were leaning anyway, you're just not making money this year when you're betting on the public side. They're getting crushed. I bet the Jets on a look-ahead line in last week at -115. Obviously, I did not get the good number with the Jets losing last week in kind of dramatic fashion. So that line was not to my advantage. I also have Rodgers under 33.5 passing yards, thinking it's going to be a low-scoring game. Probably not a game where you throw it around, especially if I'm right about the weather. So it's another one where you could tease. You get that 2.5 up to 8.5, go through the 3 and the 7, but not a real big lean on that one, especially with that heavy public line. Getting into the 1 o'clock slate, Dolphins, Patriots. This is unfortunately a snooze fest game. I think it's, basically on either side of the one, depending on which book you look. It seems like now more often than not, you're seeing the Patriots favored, but there are some books where the Dolphins are favored. Really, there's no value in the 0 in the NFL, so you're not really changing too much of the equation there. I don't really have an opinion on the game. I don't have any bets on this game so far. The Dolphins just need to get a win. But going up to New England, even though they're not a good team, going on the road in the division, can the Dolphins sustain enough offense to even get a win? I don't know. Just ugly, 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 ugly game that hopefully you have something better to do than watch that one. And it's sad to say that as a Dolphins fan. Moving forward, Panthers, Bears, that line is a 3.5 or 4, depending on where you look, over under. Get these back up here with all markets. Over under is at 40.5, 41, some 41.5s in there. I don't have anything. Well, actually, I do. I have the Panthers plus 4.5 in this game. I'm sorry. I didn't realize I got a better number on that one. But look at that, 3.5, 4. As long as you're staying above the 3, obviously that's a key number, but the 4 is kind of important too. Still getting it 4 in most places. I just think, that a lot of times I've got burned early in the season, but the Panthers, they're not terrible. They're not good by any means, but I just think they can hang in there with the Bears in Chicago. Chicago's not looked great. I believe they are 2-2 on the season. Not really trusting that, and obviously maybe an Andy Dalton revenge game scenario there. So I'm going to go with the Panthers there plus 4.5. Moving forward, Colts and Jags. Still some questions about Anthony Richardson if he's going to be at quarterback, but Joe Flacco went in there and played well. You got the Jaguars actually favored in this game by 2.5 or 3. Obviously, that's an important number to keep an eye on. And then the total 46.5, depending on where you're looking there. I don't have anything on this game yet. Looking at this, I would guess, again, let me put the public numbers up here one more time. Switch over here. This is another one. Heavy on the Colts. Okay, 60%, not quite as heavy as when we were looking at the Vikings. But again, why, sitting around that key number of 3, why isn't it changing? It's just kind of one of those weird lines. I think if Richardson was out there, I think I would lean to the Colts. But are the Jags just like dysfunctional as can be? Are they going to fire Doug Peterson? I don't really have much of a lean here. It's more of a guess that I guess I would go with the Colts getting the points or sprinkle on the money line. Again, you could another 2.5, or I guess I could tease it up to 8.5 and think that can the Colts keep it within 1 score against a team that hasn't won a game? Again, it just seems like a very weird line, and I just don't really have an opinion on that one. Bills-Texans, this should be a heck of a game. I do have the Bills on the money line. I got that at even money. Again, another game where you're sitting right around a 1. You do see a 1.5 over on FanDuel, so maybe some Bills money is coming in there. I think this is a heck of a game. I think the Bills are the better team, but it is in Houston. Houston hasn't looked great, even though they are getting wins. They kind of eked one out against that winless Jaguars team last week. Like I said, I have the Bills. I think the Bills are the better team. They didn't look great last week, but I think they bounced back. The Ravens are just an amazing team. So I wouldn't get too overanalyzing that loss by the Bills. I think Josh Allen and the boys come back and get a win in Houston. Next one, Ravens at Bengals. Obviously, the Bengals are not having a great season, not really meeting expectations. And the Ravens, although have had some weird losses, they are, I think, one of the best teams, if not the best team in football right now, with the way that they can run the ball. And if Cincinnati just can't continue to stop the run, this is going to be just a nasty game. Although, if you look at the line, again, another 2.5 here. A lot of these spreads, obviously, you're seeing this week. I think the average spread is right around 4. A lot of close games. Not a great week for Survivor. If you're still in a Survivor contest, which is not easy because a lot of people have gotten eliminated with these crazy upsets. 48.5 is the total. Some 49s, 49.5 there too. I don't have anything on this game either. My lean, again, would be, I would say Ravens. I just don't know necessarily if the Bengals have it in them. And they're kind of getting to that point where it's make or break. You got to get some wins. And, especially in the division, this is a big game and a division home game. In that 48.5, I'll be honest with you, I might go over on that one. I think that the Ravens are able to put up points. The only thing that I would say that I've seen a lot of people look at that I, try to follow is Ravens first half. And then the second half, they just run the ball and it kind of becomes a slog. So sometimes the Ravens lose the second half, especially if they get up on you early. They don't really, continue to pile on points. Just keep an eye on that if you wanted to go like Bengals second half or something live. That's an option there. Continuing at 1 o'clock, Browns at Commanders. This is a super, super, super public play. I know that I've seen some things on here. Let me pull up this. Commanders 68% of the money. It is right around, again, that 3 line, which is an important key number. Commanders is it an overreaction? If you look at the opener, the look-ahead line, this has moved 6.5 points in favor of the Commanders. I know that the Commanders have looked good. Their defense is god-awful. I am actually starting Deshaun Watson this week in fantasy football because I have Jared Goff on bye. I'm hoping that even he can exploit this Commanders defense, which is just terrible. But at that number, obviously I'm not liking these 3.5s. I would not play that number. But at home, 3 or less, man. And, the other thing to keep in mind is the Browns have some injuries on their offensive line. I would just keep an eye on that. But I just don't feel comfortable yet with the Commanders, even though I'm a big Jalen Daniels guy. I just think that it's a little premature and maybe a little bit overreaction to what they've been doing against bad defenses so far. And the Browns are, even though they haven't been necessarily winning games. Their defense is still very strong. So I would just be wary with that one. I have no opinion, no bets on that one, but just be cautious. I think that was a trap line in some ways. Raiders and Broncos, we're moving into the 4 o'clock window now. I do have the Broncos on the money line, minus 130. I do have the under in this game, which I have at 36. You can see it's still right around that number, 35.5, 36 in some places. Again, another line right around 2.5. Davante Adams, I believe, is out officially, whether it's his hamstring or whether it's his willingness to actually go play in that game for the Las Vegas Raiders. What's going on with their scenario? Antonio Pierce just got in trouble for some NCAA violations. It's kind of a train wreck, which is basically what the Raiders do very well, is kind of live in that space of not existing in a happy spot. You know what? I said my lean. You know, I have the Broncos on the money line. I just think there's a lot of stuff going on around the Raiders, and I think that the Broncos, although they are not a great team, Bo Nix, you know, can easily lose this game for them and throw the ball all over the place. But I think the Broncos defense, especially without Davante Adams out there, is going to be good enough to get them a win. Probably a low-scoring game, as you can see with that total being only at 36. Cardinals and 49ers. This one is 49ers favored by 7.5 with the over-under at 49.5. Most places, some 50s there sprinkled in. In this game, I do have the over 49.5. I think the Cardinals defense is just absolutely terrible. And this 49ers team, as they're getting healthy, I think that they're just going to run all over them. Not necessarily just running the ball, but I just think just going all over. I mean, just they're starting to get those weapons back at wide receiver and tight end. Kittle's getting them healthy. Obviously, McCaffrey's still not out there, but Jordan Mason is good. Purdy's playing well. I just think, you know, even though the 49ers defense is very good, the Cardinals can get some points up with Kyler and Marvin Harrison and those guys. Connor is a great bet for an anytime touchdown, but I have the over in that game, over 49.5 in the 4 o'clock window. Next one, Giants and Seahawks. This is my survivor pick for the week. Seahawks are at 5.5 is what I bet them, now at 6.5. Giants are going to probably be without Malik Neighbors. You're starting to see some sevens. That's obviously a great time to get in on this. Again, talking teaser, you could tease that Seahawks down and it would just be -0.5. Basically, you just need them to win. When you do that, though, sometimes you look, especially if you play two of them at -6.5 and tease it up. If you play the money line, you can actually get better odds than playing the teaser line. But I like the Seahawks. I got them at 5.5. I would still play it at 6.5. I think their defense, while it got gashed last week against the against the Lions, they got hit up pretty well. The Lions are an elite offense, and the Seahawks are not healthy on defense. Once they get healthy, I think they're going to be one of the best teams on defense, but also one of the better teams in the NFL too. So Giants, I'm not impressed with. Although if Neighbors isn't out there, Wando Robinson might catch like 47 balls this week. So hopefully, if you have him in a PPR, you are set. 4 o'clock, Packers and Rams. I do not have anything on this game at all. The line is 3. Again, right around that key number. Again, you're going to see all these games right around that key number of 3. 48.5 is the total. I would lean Packers. I think that the Packers are getting healthy, even though they don't have Christian Watson. They have lots of weapons out there. The Rams are just beat up. They will compete. They're well coached. But I would lean Packers, although, again, I don't have anything actually on that game. Moving into Sunday Night Football, Cowboys and Steelers. This is a game where it's just a weird line. Do you really buy into the Steelers and how they've played so far this season, 3-1 through 4 weeks? Cowboys, are they, a sleeping giant? Are they just not as good as they were supposed to be? There's injuries on their defense. Can they stop the Steelers, who really don't have a great offense, although Justin Fields is playing better than I think most people give him credit for? I don't know, man. This is just a weird line to be in Pittsburgh, and the Cowboys are 2.5-point dogs. Again, if you look at the spread and the money, 79% of the money is on the Cowboys. Why? It's not going to go the other way, right? Because all that money's on there. It's not moving to 3, but why isn't it moving down? And if you look at the line history so far this week, that line's not moving at all off that 2.5. So it's an interesting, I think, proposition here. The Steelers defense is very, very good. Can they score enough points, though, to keep up with the Cowboys? Can they hold that Cowboys offense down for enough? I don't have anything on this game yet. I don't know. I'm very torn here. If you gave me again, I know I keep talking teaser, but you tease that up to 8.5. I think the Cowboys are not going to at least cover within a possession, a 7-point game. I think that's another great teaser leg to look at this week. Although teasers have not been very friendly, the standard Stanford Wong teasers going through the 3 and the 7. Last one, Monday Night Football, Saints at Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored by 5.5. They, in a lot of ways, have been the luckiest team this year, just pulling out wins by narrow margins. It's a 43.5 is for the total. I have two bets on this game. I have the under at 43. You could still get 43.5 in some places. 44 is really more of the key number there, but 43 and 5.5 is the spread I have. I have plus 5.5 for the Saints. I think that the Saints are going to compete in this game. Again, if it goes low scoring, that 5.5 is a good number to have to cover. The Chiefs are dealing with a lot of injuries. How are they going to respond? Who are they going to go to? And how do they figure this out? Because it's just mounting up more and more. I saw a report about Juju Smith-Schuster being a guy that's going to get some more action. I know it sounds like actually Rashee Rice is going to be able to come back at some point this season. He avoided the ACL injury. It's more of a bone bruise, maybe a PCL or a meniscus. So he's going to be out for a while, but he should be able to come back, it sounds like, which is good for fantasy owners if he can come back by the end of the fantasy playoffs. So I just want to run through these lines. Like I said, later on tonight, in about 2 hours, we'll have our Prize Picks show, Prop 5 with myself, Eric, and Ross. Check these out. Go to Prize Picks, use the code 5, get yourself $50 when you place a $5 lineup. And we will see you later tonight. Good luck.